Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
You know, it's Boost era. I pray and hope that he take it to the extreme. I pray nothing but success for him and his family. And all in all, it's all about and competitiveness, and people want to see, you know, this generation. How would they do with the previous generation? The same way with people comparing me to Floyd. We'll never fight. So I wish him nothing but the best. I want to see him succeed.
Not to prove anything to anyone, to prove something to him. Because I know how you are, Terrence. But
there it is.
Listen. But when you get older and you realize, you can prove things over and over and over, but the only person that you got to prove something to is yourself. I've been doing that my whole career. I've been doubted my whole career. I've been talked about my whole career. I've been, I haven't fought this guy. I haven't fought this guy. And when I do fight these guys, or when I do step up, then it's always an excuse. So now that 38 years old, about to be 39, I don't have nothing to prove. I didn't win everything there is to win. I hope that Jerron have half of the career that I had, or surpass me. If he surpassed me, I'm going to be rooting for him. I'm going to be giving him his props. I'm not the type of fighter that, want to see him fail. I want to see him succeed. I want to congratulate him. I want to see him, make it to the Hall of Fame and, congratulate him and things like that, But when you say, oh, he would knock Terrence Crawford out, or Terrence Crawford ducked him, or Terrence Crawford ran, and that's why Terrence Crawford retired. It pisses me off sometimes, but at the same time, it's just the game.
You know the truth. Yeah, you know the truth. Yeah, I'll say this. And
that is Terrence Crawford once again asserting that he's retired with no intentions of coming back. He's got nothing left to prove to anyone, because every time he did, they moved the goalpost. I remember the week of the Errol Spence Jr. fight, you still had a lot of Spence fans saying he was going to collect his eye, like he took Brooks' eye, like he took Ugas's.
They were still saying this shit, but because they're low-quality people, after the fight, all they did was make fucking excuses.
Low-quality people that can't be held to their word. Before the fight, Spence is going to do this, and Spence is going to do that. After the fight, they were looking for any excuse to latch onto, any reason to give Errol a pass.
Themselves a pass, really. Themselves for getting it so fucking wrong for so fucking long.
Then some time passes and he goes ahead and collects a scalp even bigger than the scalp of Errol Spence Jr., who all of a sudden was damaged goods.
Is that what you were saying before the fight?
Goes ahead, fights Canelo Alvarez, beats him decisively. Canelo, who is many times over a better, more decorated fighter than Errol, and now they want to make excuses for that. That Canelo shot, that he's in decline. Bear in mind, Terrence Crawford is older than Canelo.
It's the perfect example of how no matter what he does, who he fights and who he beats, they're going to move the goalpost afterwards, so that when it becomes about Boots,
it's just more of the same. Even worse, that he already tried to fight Boots.
When BLK Prime sent him an offer, and when him and Bozy Ennis were more concerned with staying loyal to Showtime, those were Bozy Ennis's words. That came from the horse's mouth.
And you still have a lot of guys trying to make excuses for that. That Boots already had a chance to fight Terrence Crawford, and he passed on it. So you can't use his name now to shade him or suggest that he retired because of Boots.
Boots was still at 147 while Terrence Crawford was at 154 and subsequently 168.
Why are you mad?
Anybody using the name of Boots to shade Terrence Crawford so obviously has an ulterior motive, obviously has an agenda. It's either they're mad that Terrence beat Errol, or they're mad that he beat Canelo. It's one or the other.
Why are you mad?
But Terrence proved you wrong and far exceeded expectations, yours especially. More than that he's more accomplished than any of the fighters you currently like.
Boots included, because we don't know that Boots is going to retire from the sport like Terrence did. A 5-division, 4-time lineal, 4-time Ring Magazine, 3-time undisputed champion.
He might not, because he didn't get to become undisputed at welterweight. He may not get to become undisputed at junior middle.
Not if Sebastian ducks him.
And at middle, Jaron Ennis may end up hitting a ceiling because I don't think he has the physical dimensions to move up to super middle. That when his career is done, he will only have accomplished a fraction of what Crawford's accomplished.
You still got guys saying that Terrence Crawford only has one name on his resume.
I saw a guy named Jay Wu say that about Terrence's resume, mostly because he doesn't know shit about names or resumes. When he fought Ricky Burns and Ray Beltran at that time, they were both number 1 and number 2 in the lightweight division, where he also fought Gamboa, unbeaten at the time. Gamboa wasn't a name?
I don't think Jay Wu and guys like him were watching boxing at the time to know that.
What, none of those are good names on Terrence's resume, but you're hyper-impressed with Stanionis's on boots?
Julius Ndongo, Victor Postol, those were the only super lightweight champions at the time, and Terrence fought them both.
Beat them both, beat Postol, who made Danny Garcia give him his lunch money.
I don't think Jay Wu was watching boxing at the time, watching boxing when that happened, when Victor was Danny's mandatory challenger via the WBC, and instead of fighting him, Danny paid him to step aside.
Why the fuck would he do that if he could have beat him?
What, is he giving Terrence a hard time for the names that he didn't get to fight at 147? Names like Danny and names like Keith? Because those guys wanted to fight Terrence?
You think Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman wanted to fight Terrence Crawford?
They didn't.
And it really wouldn't have mattered if they did, because Terrence has already fought better fighters than those fighters.
Oh, Victor Postol would have beat Danny Garcia. I don't have a doubt in my mind. But if you do...
Didn't Sean Porter beat Danny Garcia? And didn't Errol Spence beat Danny Garcia? Both of which were beaten by Terrence Crawford. And if you don't respect the version of Errol Spence Jr. that he fought Canelo, who was always better than Errol. Time has proven Terrence Crawford wise that attempting to prove the naysayers wrong is an exercise in futility, because these are low-quality people that, no matter what, are going to move the goalpost. So now he's enjoying the fruits of his labor, the spoils of his victories, and
he's not coming back, no matter how much you goad him to.
I picked Boots to win on Saturday, even if it took me a while to do it. I picked him to beat Xander Zayas, but I would not pick him to beat Terrence Crawford. Oh, he's very big and he's very strong. Perhaps as strong as Terrence, but he's not as smart as Terrence. He doesn't have his ring IQ. That's why he gets hit so much. That's why he was in big trouble in the third round with Xander Zayas. If Xander can get you in trouble, Terrence can get you out of there. Xander's not a puncher.
Xander ain't known for power, and he had him on Queer Street for all of the third round.
Xander is nowhere near as experienced or as malleable, as adaptable as Terrence Crawford, and he had you in big trouble. So what do you think Terrence would do? What I see in Boots is an athletically gifted fighter who's very fast, very strong, and very sharp. But his ring IQ...
he's lacking in that department. He's lacking in the defense department.
There is a lot there that Terrence Crawford would and could exploit if they had fought. When Terrence Crawford originally reached out to Team Ennis to do the fight,
Boots would have lost.
I don't have a doubt in my mind. He doesn't get to go on and become a unified champion in the welterweight division because he would have lost to Terrence Crawford beforehand. He doesn't get to become a unified champion at junior middle against Xander because Crawford would have derailed him. The best thing that could have ever happened to Boots' career is not getting the Crawford fight.
You mean not wanting the Crawford fight, because he was offered the fight. He turned it down.
Because they wanted to stay loyal to Showtime. So fucking loyal, they ended up going to DAZN, going to Matchroom. But whatever. Now Crawford, in his retirement, is giving Jaron Ennis grace, saying that he wants to see him succeed. And he wants to see him do well. And he might.
Not as well as Crawford, I think, but he can still do good for himself.
He says it's the Boots era. Maybe it is. I had my reservations about this past weekend's fight being billed as a pay-per-view on the premise that I wasn't sure if Xander and Boots jointly had amassed enough of a following to be fighting on pay-per-view.
I wasn't sure if it should be billed as such, but what I also said in the build-up, whoever wins this weekend's fight is on course to become a pay-per-view star, to become a box office attraction. And based on how that fight looked,
everybody enjoyed that fight. You could show that fight to anybody, hardcore boxing fan or casual, and they would have enjoyed it. It had everything you want in a big-time boxing match, and the big finish.
It wasn't anticlimactic like what you get from Devin Haney, what you get from Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez in some instances.
Ryan, too.
This past weekend's fight had you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. And that's what you want in a boxing match. That's what you want in a boxer. Somebody who not only can they win, they have the ability to do it, but they also have the ability to entertain a crowd.
Bud says it's the beginning of the Boots era. Maybe it is.
There's been a question as to who's going to take up the mantle as the face of boxing after Crawford and Canelo were gone. The previous cycle of fighters. Who's got the most potential to put boxing on their back? And
maybe it's Boots.
Eddie's going to do what he can to keep him fighting in big fights, meaningful fights. I anticipate his very next fight could be Josh Kelly in the fall in a unification match.
In another pay-per-view.
What could end up drawing fight fans from both the United Kingdom and the United States. So maybe it is the beginning of the Boots era. Maybe based on his unique characteristics and his style, his stopping power, he could become the face of boxing. Maybe.
But all this stuff about him beating Bud and Bud ducking him?
You fucking breaker, right?
You're just mad he proved you wrong so many times and managed to retire undefeated, not just undefeated, but one of the most accomplished fighters American boxing has ever produced.
Want to poo-poo on his resume, saying he's only got one name on there.
But you've been high on Boots this whole time for having what names on his resume?
Well, don't say Xander because he just added Xander to his resume. And you've been high on him the whole time. Seems to me, you don't make any fucking sense.
Low quality people, I'm telling you. You're better off not arguing with these people, just observing them, and the mental gymnastics they go through to try to tear down Terrence Crawford. They're still doing it, even after he's retired.
Better off not arguing with these guys. Just let them be salty. Let them be bitter, all by themselves. Back over to Boots, who's proving himself gracious in victory. He took to his social media and stated, Xander Zayas is a true champion. We gave the fans their money's worth. Much respect to you and your team. I hope you're healthy and everything is okay. Blessings to you and your family. You will be back better.
After the fight, it came out that Xander Zayas has a rematch clause. As Eddie Hearn addressed Jaron Ennis' next steps and comparing him to Bam Rodriguez, Matchroom promoter Eddie Hearn spent time talking to boxing media immediately following Boots Ennis' big win over Xander. Fielding questions, Hearn reveals that Zayas has the option for a mandatory rematch if he so chooses.
He likely isn't going to, though.
As Eddie Hearn is already working on plans for Boots' next outing, it's common knowledge, but Xander has a rematch clause. Though I believe he'll probably move to 160, but it's interesting. He said in the ring tonight, he said, I didn't struggle at the weight. He might look back and maybe looks at the third round. He's got the right to exercise it, but at the same time, he took a lot of punishment, and I think Boots will be a lot better next time, to be honest with you, because as much experience as he has in terms of fights, this was his first real moment in the madness, and he'll learn a lot from that. He's only just turned 29.
On comparing Boots to Bam Rodriguez,
I think they're both very similar in the way they approach their fights. For example, Bam goes in the other week against Vargas, and with all due respect, and Vargas and Xander, they have no respect for them, really. They walk them down from the opening bell, stand in the pocket, and just beat them up. But the result of that is really entertaining fights and probably take a little bit more punishment than the coaches would like. And Bam was the same, wasn't it? I mean, he got hit a lot in that fight, but he chose to get hit a lot in that fight. So he wouldn't give you a 12-round decision, so that he'd wear him down and stop him. So when you look at that pound-for-pound list, who are the guys that come out and fight like that? Who are the guys that make the casual fans go, what a sport?
You could argue that Bam Rodriguez is already a more accomplished fighter than Jaron Ennis. Jaron just became a 2-weight world champion, whereas Bam just became a 3-weight world champion. And Bam's resume is actually more robust, with more accomplished fighters on it than Boots' resume.
You could definitely make the case that Bam already has a better resume than Boots, and he's already more accomplished than Boots. But where Boots has got a leg up on Bam is Americans don't really watch the fighters at the lighter weights, the lower weights, no matter how fun they are to watch, no matter how accomplished.
It's a wonder they even know who Inoue is.
The American audience seems to sort of taper off once you go lower than 135 and 130. They don't really pay that much attention.
And that is where Boots has got a leg up on Bam. That he's not as accomplished as he is, but he's a little bit more recognizable, and he's got more of a buzz going.
So when you look at that pound-for-pound list, who are the guys that come out and fight like that? Who are the guys that make the casual fans go, what a sport? This is thrilling, and that's Bam and Boots. And Benavidez as well, not my fighter, but again, really exciting fighter to watch. And for me, I know that's what the casuals want to watch. I know the purists will go, oh well, he got buzzed. He got hit too much. Yes, I know, but what you're seeing is thrilling.
Eddie's got to be very satisfied with himself. That 3 of the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport all fight for Matchroom. Bam Rodriguez, Dimitri Bivol, and Jaron Ennis now.
And these are consensus pound-for-pound fighters, meaning doesn't matter where you look, whether it's ESPN's list or Ring Magazine's list, in this instance, my own list, you're going to find these 3 names on there, and Eddie Hearn's got to be very happy about that. Very proud indeed.
Still building Jaron Ennis into a pay-per-view attraction, a pay-per-view star. As I've stated many times since this weekend, I believe it's going to be Josh Kelly next. Josh is going to make a defense of his title against Aguiarco in the UK. Provided that he stays champion, I expect him to fight Boots Ennis after that. Because if it ain't Boots, then what is it all for?
In the build-up of this past weekend's fight, you heard Jaron Ennis say more than once that he is now the cash cow of this division. Which wasn't true at the time, but I think it's true now. Now that he has emerged the victor. And what I said previously, whoever wins the fight is on course to become a pay-per-view attraction.
Name a bigger fight for Josh Kelly, by all means.
I mean, I would have said the Conor Benn fight for Josh, but Conor Benn is on his way down to welterweight and he's fighting at Zuffa now, so he's out of the picture.
There isn't a bigger fight for Josh Kelly anywhere at or around these weights. The Boots fight would represent the biggest fight for him. I was actually surprised when he decided to fight Bakram Murtazaliev for his IBF because I didn't think that fight was going to happen.
And I didn't think Josh Kelly was going to win that fight, but he did. He surprised me. So I don't think he'd shy away from a Jaron Ennis fight. You gotta know it's the biggest fight for him. For the best money. They're both on the Matchroom side of things, so it should be relatively easy to make.
He's going to want a lot of money.
Well, that's where it being billed as a pay-per-view comes in. They'll give them a decent enough guarantee. I don't know, something in the neighborhood of maybe $2 million to Boots and $2 million to Josh, or $3 million to Boots.
$2 million to Josh?
Maybe more to get him to sign on, and then they'll make the rest of their money from the upside of the pay-per-view, if there is one.
Josh Kelly's not going to make the same mistake that Xander did, staying in the pocket too long and trading punches with Boots. He's going to beat those feet and get on his bike, try to stay on the outside for as long as he can. So this one might actually go a little longer than the Zayas fight. But I think Boots wins it.
I think he would get to him eventually.